Firstly, I must thank Dr. Henry Wang and CCG for inviting me once again to share some thoughts at your always valuable and informative forums. I have 5 key points to share. Number one, I think China-ASEAN partnership will continue to strengthen in the years ahead. At the recent China-ASEAN summit in Phnom Penh last month, we see consensus reached between China and ASEAN to move forward on strengthening the China-ASEAN partnership. China is being the largest trading partner of all of the ASEAN countries for more than 10 years, and we see this continue to grow. We also see the BRI benefiting ASEAN countries in terms of infrastructure development, particularly the building of roads, railways, ports, and harbors. Perhaps what we can do as think tanks is to forge a network of collaboration among think tanks in China and ASEAN, but this can also include a wider network of East Asia think tanks as well. We need to continue to enlarge this capacity for regional collaboration and exchange of views. Secondly, I think we need to address the major challenge of building back better after the COVID pandemic. And there has to be greater focus among our countries, our governments, with the support of the private sector and with inputs from think tanks to further enhance various post-pandemic economic recovery plan. ASEAN has developed an ASEAN post-pandemic economic recovery framework, and this needs to also include the private sector, which is important to ensure that the business community is able to complement governments on building back better programs. Thirdly, I would like to very briefly mention what I consider to be the 4 E's challenges facing Asia and the region. One is E, economic. The economic growth and economic recovery, economic prosperity has to be a key priority for Asia. Second, education. We need to further enhance and strengthen human capital development to ensure that we have the skills and resources for our graduates and for our youth to have jobs of the future. And very often we face in many of our countries a mismatch between supply and demand of human capital. Thirdly, we need to focus on energy, the energy transition to a low carbon economy, and building on efforts to enhance collaboration in green energy and green transition is a key challenge that we all need to address. The 5th E that I would like to share is the environment. We need to enhance collaboration on climate change and climate action, and this needs to include also the business community as well as the think tanks and the academic community as well, to ensure that we build a sustainable and inclusive future. And in this regard, I would like to perhaps suggest that think tanks in the region can take on a very active role in promoting and advancing the SDGs. We have some collaborative efforts with some of the think tanks in the region where we look at collaboration on some of the key SDGs where we can advance further. The 4th point I'd like to share is, again, what I would consider the 4 I's challenges facing the region: innovation, infrastructure, investment, integrity. The region needs a lot of new innovation, and I think the more innovation that we can create, the better will be for the future prosperity of our region. We also need a lot of huge investments in infrastructure development. And this is where I think developed countries like China, like Japan, South Korea can contribute to many of us in Southeast Asia. So we need huge investments in infrastructure. We need also investments to scale up our productive capacity, investments in green logistics, in green partnerships. We in the UN SCAP Sustainability Network have been proposing the establishment of a Asia-Pacific Green Deal, where we would hope to have green investments and focusing on green supply chain and green production. The final I that I would like to stress is integrity. I think many of our countries face challenges of governance and integrity and transparency and accountability. This is one area that I think think tanks can put a strong focus on. Just my final quick point before I end is the need to foster greater collaboration among think tanks in the Asia-Pacific region. And here I think we perhaps need to identify areas that we can work together and areas of priority and prioritization for the think tanks. I suggested earlier the need to focus on sharing ideas, sharing experiences on the SDGs. That can be one area, but there can be other areas that we can look on that have been mentioned and stressed by our other speakers. One final point is, I think one way forward for think tank collaboration is to work on global governance. And I think global governance, in my mind, also include reforms to the international financial architecture. And perhaps if we are able to collaborate on some of these areas, we would be able to build a better future for our region. Thank you, Chair.